At the same time, Al Jazeera had been running a second undercover operation. Some of our reporters' covert filming was included in the first series of The Lobby. His identity became known. Tony had spent 5 months inside the pro-Israel lobby in the United States. He'd impressed colleagues with his understanding of the Middle East.
You have the resourcefulness and the depth, to sort of think strategically about this, whereas most people aren't able to do that.
A prominent Jewish online magazine described Tony as the perfect gentleman who became one of the town's best-liked Zionist activists.
You did amazing work here. The guys don't stop talking about you. They still talk about you.
Tony threw elaborate parties, and apparently anyone interested in telling a story about sinister Israeli influence in America's capital couldn't have asked for a better guest list. In the new edition of The Lobby, we investigate the role of pro-Israel advocacy groups in this country in the first of a 4-part series, how the lobby is being drawn into Israel's covert campaign to spy on American citizens. Using an undercover reporter, Al Jazeera's investigative unit infiltrates one of the most powerful lobbies in the world.
Getting $38 billion in security aid to Israel matters, which is what AIPAC just did.
We examine how the lobby, led by AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, has secured unwavering support in Congress.
Congressmen don't do anything unless you pressure them. And the only way to do that is with money.
What the lobby is all about is to make sure that Israel gets special treatment from the United States forever.
But after occupying Palestinian lands for half a century, the pro-Israel lobby is facing a new challenge.
We called for a full boycott of Israel, divesting from it, and eventually imposing sanctions on it to achieve UN-stipulated rights of the Palestinian people.
A movement to boycott, divest, and impose sanctions on Israel, BDS, was formed on American campuses.
Seems to be achieving its goals, threatens future American support for Israel.
We believe in justice for all people. So that means the occupation has to end.
Israel's Ministry of Strategic Affairs responded with a covert operation to defeat BDS.
אתה צריך לעשות את זה עם הרבה מאוד עמימות. זה לא גוף צבאי היררכי שאם הרגנו את X, אז כל הגוף מתחתיו לא פועל.
So the Israeli government leverages Jewish organizations in the diaspora.
Absolutely.
It's a psychological campaign involving spying and smears.
Discredit the messenger as a way of discrediting the message.
Just stay on message. And what is that message? BDS is a hate movement.
While our reporter monitored pro-Israel groups, he was asked to go undercover for the lobby.
You're going into enemy territory. It's not for everybody.
We are a different government working on foreign soil, and we have to be very, very cautious. We have 3 different sub-campaigns which are very, very sensitive regarding data gathering, information analysis, working on activist organization, money trail. This is something that only a country with its resources can do the best. If we want to win, we have to change our ways. We have to think differently. And this is waging a holistic campaign against the other side. Take him out of his comfort zone. Make him be on the defensive.
Israel is involved in a secretive influence campaign whose aim is to discredit its challengers in the West.
In the Air Force, when you want to win, you have to have aerial superiority. If you want to win a campaign, you must have information superiority. And this is exactly the added value Israel capabilities, technological and otherwise, we can bring to the game, and we are working on that very hard.
In the United States, the lobby is working with Israel to spy on American citizens.
We're giving them data. For example, one day, Sima's deputy sending me a photo, just a photo in WhatsApp. It's written, boycott Israel on a billboard. In a few hours, our systems and analysts could find the exact organization, people, and even their names where they live. We gave it back to the ministry. I have no idea what they did with this. But in fact, 3 days later, there were no billboards.
We use all sorts of technology. We use corporate level, enterprise grade social media intelligence software. Almost all of this happens on social media. So we have custom algorithms and formulae that acquire the stuff immediately.
In terms of like information sharing, we did add the Ministry of Strategic Affairs to our operations and intelligence brief, which kind of goes back to how do we get information that was on American college campuses.
Generally within about 30 seconds or less of one of these things popping up on campus, whether it's a Facebook event, whether it's the right kind of mention on Twitter, the system picks it up, it goes into a queue, and alerts our researchers, and they evaluate it, they tag it, and if it rises to a certain level, we issue early warning alerts to our partners.
They operate through subterfuge, and they walk a very thin line between the legal and illegal in what they do in order to gather information and to smear their opponents and ultimately destroy them. In order to understand how the pro-Israel lobby operates, you have to literally be a fly on the wall. If you can't obtain information publicly, you should try to get into the room through other means.
Our undercover reporter, Tony, is British and Jewish and had recently graduated from the University of Oxford. He wrote articles and presented himself as a strong supporter of Israel. In Washington, he attended a course on the Israel-Palestine conflict.
I'm from the UK, and I'm just taking a course at Georgetown here over the summer.
He networked in the social circles of the pro-Israel lobby.
Hi, I'm Rona.
I'm Tony.
Nice to meet you.
Good to see you. I'm good. Good to see you. Hey.
After building his profile, Tony was accepted on a training course in pro-Israel advocacy.
Welcome to Fuel for Truth DC's second boot camp. Congratulations, everyone, to being accepted. What we're going to do right now is just kind of like introduce ourselves. I'm Daniel. After undergrad, I served in the IDF and the paratroopers for 2 years and worked at APAC for a year.
One session criticized the UN agency that provides aid for Palestinians.
Children are taught in UNRWA Palestinian schools to hate Jews.
Another lecture dealt with the international media.
Confronting media bias. During the last war, a lot of times videos are circulating of bombed areas or victims, and a lot of it's from Syria, from Iraq 10 years ago, all this stuff.
In role-play workshops, they were instructed how to respond to criticism of Israel.
Can I have a volunteer? The part-time wall is cutting off Palestine. Boycott Israel. Divest from Israel. Sanction companies that do business with Israel.
It's kind of odd to call it a wall, given that like 90% of it is fence.
This is a photo. I see a wall.
Why can't Israel do more to help, Tony?
Our undercover reporter played the role of pro-Israel advocate.
Israel is doing a lot to help the Palestinians. I say actually Israel is doing all the best that they can, but it's a tough situation.
The businesses in Gaza can't freely send their trucks into Israel to sell their goods.
I think you'll find that that's actually a misconception. They do allow their trucks, and what they don't allow is dangerous material.
Okay, stop.
After the course, Tony was accepted as a volunteer at a pro-Israel communications group called the Israel Project.
It's Tony Kleinfeld. Kleinfeld. Like Seinfeld, but with a K.
The Israel Project, known as TIP, describes itself on its promotional videos as a strategic communications group.
At TIP, we believe we've found the answer.
Israel's enemies have left the battlefield of the Middle East and are now fighting on the battlefield of public opinion.
What you have with regard to the United States and Israel is a special relationship that is unprecedented in recorded history. Not simply that the United States gives Israel a tremendous amount of economic aid and diplomatic protection, it gives that aid and protection no matter what, right? It's not conditional. And the Israel Project will go to enormous lengths to achieve that end.
During his placement as a volunteer, Tony took notes on what he saw and heard in Tip's offices. He worked in what they called the war room, where media and communications are monitored. Staff described having contacts at numerous media organizations. Their primary means of influence is by forging friendships with reporters. One employee claimed that during talks on the nuclear deal with Iran, Tip applied pressure on the Associated Press news agency to change a headline. Tony read the Israel Project's annual report, which described Tip's mission as building an echo chamber for pro-Israel information. That means using the media to amplify and repeat Tip's messages, as well as what the report describes as neutralizing undesired narratives. Tony saw one document which claimed that the echo chamber was within their grasp. Weeks before he started, Tony discussed with a senior manager how Tip deals with the media.
There are things that you do loudly. A lot of them are things you do behind the scenes.
And I'm joined now by Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky, who led the effort to release the Epstein. And I'm joined now by Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky, who led the effort to release the Epstein files. Congressman Massie, thank you for being here. President Trump fought long and hard to prevent your discharge petition from going through. You won that battle. Now, what happens? How many Republicans in the House follow your lead and defy the president on this?
I think we could have a deluge of Republicans. There could be 100 or more. I'm hoping to get a veto-proof majority on this legislation when it comes up for a vote. And, you know, the president's been saying this is a hoax. He's been saying that for months. Well, he's just now decided to investigate a hoax, if it's a hoax. And I have another concern about these investigations that he's announced. If they have ongoing investigations in certain areas, those documents can't be released. So this might be a big smokescreen, these investigations, to open a bunch of them as a last-ditch effort to prevent the release of the Epstein files.
I mean, it is extraordinary to hear him demand an investigation and only mention Democrats, only mention his political opponents. But you're saying he may not really even want any investigation. He wants to prevent the release. Why does he want to prevent this? What is he afraid of?
You know, I've never said that these files will implicate Donald Trump. And I really don't think that they will. I think he's trying to protect a bunch of rich and powerful friends, billionaires, donors to his campaign, friends in his social circles. And that's my operating theory on why he's trying so hard to keep these files closed.
What do you think is actually in these files? I mean, we've seen so much Epstein material, from the criminal cases, the stuff that just came out this week, you know, from the estate. What do you think is left?
Yeah, I don't have to guess at what's in the files. I've talked to the survivors through their lawyer, and we know there are at least 20 people in those files. There are politicians, billionaires, movie producers who are implicated criminally, who haven't been investigated. And it's up to the FBI, not the survivors and the DOJ, to release those names, or at least to investigate them. And when I see Donald Trump announce a bunch of investigations, I don't see him going after these rich elites that are implicated in these files, according to the survivors.
The president's gone after you in some deeply personal ways. I mean, attacking you over and over again, even attacking you for, regarding your wedding, your recent wedding, which, by the way, congratulations. What do you make of all that? And he's obviously supporting your primary opponents. I mean, what kind of retribution are you facing?
You know, my wife told me, she said, "I told you so. We should have invited Donald Trump. He's mad that he didn't get an invitation." So we're taking it with a grain of salt. He's being a bully or trying to be a bully. And they're trying to beat me here in Kentucky. But here's what's interesting. The people financing this campaign consist completely of 3 billionaires, and they're all in the Epstein class. In fact, one of them is named in Epstein's phone book. Not the secret files that the FBI is keeping, but in Epstein's phone book. So it's a small world. Dogs don't bark at parked cars, and we are winning. I'm not tired of winning yet, but we are winning. And not only the speaker, but the attorney general, the FBI director, and the president himself and the vice president, they're taking a big loss this week because after months of fighting, I am winning this week with Ro Khanna. We're forced.
Winning with Ro Khanna, winning with Marjorie Taylor Greene, winning against the president, winning with principles and values, purpose, and courage. Hi guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. Are y'all someone who doesn't bend to the will of the conventional wisdom? Someone who rebels, questions authority, who doesn't just watch the mainstream media and go along with all the bandwagon mentality? Well, if so, www.TommyNationPolitics.com. We're free-thinking, innovative, totally open-minded, new progressive media. We're making some strong claims. Today, we're officially and foundationally and ultimately going to call Maga a dead movement. There has been a casualty. There's been a death. Death of Maga. Domination Politics podcast is going to officially call the movement of Maga dead today. And who else put the nail in the coffin himself but our president? It's not going to be long. Until he follows it. Whether it be out of office or whether it be out of this mortal fabric. Be that as it may, guys, we still have decisions to make. We still have very hard decisions to make. We still have very long paths to follow. And when you follow those paths, when you make those decisions, I ask that you guys at least try to be free-thinking, innovative, and open-minded. And probably like, share, subscribe. This stream, this channel, this podcast wants to be a movement that creates and facilitates a change, a fierce urgency of now, by which all of the government of this sovereign nation shall work for the people, by the people, and for the people. You don't need to be Sheldon Adelson. You don't need to be Mary Adelson. You don't need to be Elon Musk to be in this. You can just contribute to PayPal, Cash App, Tommy Nation Politics. One word, Tommy Nation Politics. And join the fight. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Rumble, Trovo, Twitch, YouTube. Not TikTok. TikTok has been bought, sponsored, paid for, and surveilled by Erica Mendel, a Zionist propagandist, servant of the deep state. And TikTok is let's just say it's not part of the pride line. It's beyond our borders. We don't go there. We actually do. We try to make conversation wherever we can. We try to get the message out wherever we can. It's not It's not too late. It's not impossible. All it takes is some courage, guys. It takes some persistence. Persistence on your part and mine. And that's why, guys, I have a podcast. That's why I have a podcast. That's why you're listening. Because we know deep down, it's not just the rot of the system. It's not just the corruption of our leaders. It's not just the oligarch influence, foreign lobbyists. It's kind of also us. We have to take accountability. We have to take charge of our country. Because if we don't take the reins, guys, if we don't take the reins, the reins will be usurped by forces that will carve for themselves from the very engines that which brought them to unjust dominion, tyranny of their own making. Within smoke-filled, silent rooms, decisions will be made immediately. Decisions will be made regarding our future posterity. Decisions will be made regarding the promotion of our general will. Decisions will be made on the part of our national security, our common good, our life, liberty, happiness. I think you want to be a part of that. I think you want to manifest destiny for yourself. Something greater, something more. So, with that, let's get right down to it.
I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thanks for starting your day with us. We are going to begin this morning with the latest on the Jeffrey Epstein files. The bill that would force the Justice Department to release all of its unclassified records from its investigation into the late convicted sex offender is headed to the president's desk today, and he's promised to sign it.
The Senate has passed the bill.
That there is survivors of Epstein's abuse breaking out in cheers and tears last night when they heard the announcement at a candlelight vigil.
They were reacting to the Senate, which unanimously passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Hours earlier, it was approved by the House, with only one Republican voting no. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer celebrated the swift movement of the bill while putting pressure on the Trump administration to follow through and release all of the files. As for House Speaker Mike Johnson, well, he was frustrated because the bill passed in the Senate without any of the changes he was calling for.
Johnson should send the bill over now. Right now, there's no reason it can't be on the president's desk in an hour.
I'm deeply disappointed in this outcome. I was just told that Chuck Schumer rushed it to the floor and put it out there preemptively. It needed amendments. I just spoke to the president about that. We'll see what happens.
NBC News White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez is standing by with more on the next steps from the president. First, let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona for the latest from Congress. Mel, good morning. So walk us through how this is all expected to play out. Assuming the president does follow through with what he said he would do and sign the bill, what's next? What does this force the Justice Department to do, and how quickly?
Yeah, good morning, guys. So this bill does outline a timeline for the release of the Epstein files, and it's a relatively quick one. According to the bill text, the DOJ has 30 days to make publicly available in a searchable format, no less, all unclassified records, documents, and communications, as well as investigative materials in its possession related to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. The resolution also does say that victim information can be redacted, as well as child sexual abuse material that can be withheld. And the resolution also says that documents may be withheld if it does jeopardize an ongoing investigation or case. And the reason why that is important is because Trump did just recently direct his Justice Department to open an investigation into prominent Democrats and other financial institutions, whether they had ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the resolution.
President Trump now set to sign a bill to force the release of Justice Department files related to Jeffrey Epstein, starting the clock for the DOJ with 30 days to comply.
We will continue to follow the law with maximum transparency while protecting victims.
But how much material, if any, could become public? While the bill compels the department to share records like flight logs, sealed settlements, and more, it contains caveats, letting the DOJ redact files for victims' privacy and withhold certain information that would jeopardize an active federal investigation, like the one opened days ago after the president directed the attorney general to look into Democrats' connections to the late sex offender.
What makes you confident that you may actually see the public release of these Epstein files?
Because I don't think the American people will settle for anything less.
The DOJ.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics. Welcome back to Tommy Nation Politics, fam. Free thinking, innovative, totally open-minded. Tommy Nation Politics. So let's see. I got this virtual background, just like nobody can see me. I'm like invisible or something. Maybe I should just take it off. Is that better? Maybe. Oh! It's a work in process, guys. But how's it going, fam? Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. Chat is open. Feel free to express your comments, concerns, complaints. Your complaints will be promptly thrown up and or tossed up and thrown in the garbage. I could call you a traitor. I could do something fancy like that, but I don't think so, guys. I think that, we've got to, instead of slogans, instead of propaganda, a call to action, right? So we've got a lot going on this week through the madness they call democracy. I'm not here to spoon feed you red or blue Kool-Aid, as you know. No. We're ditching the duopoly's poisoned chalice for something that's real. Something that only a free thinker could really think about. Today, November 19th, 2025, America's longest shutdown ended. But what about the scars? They're festering, guys. You can tell. You can tell in the House of Representatives when the defeat of Trump occurred and the death of Maga was officially brought into transparent light. The festering scars. The deportation raids ripping families apart. The jets to Saudis and Saudi warlords. And a Gaza peace plan that smells like a recycled empire. If you're tired of groupthink chains, hit that subscribe button. We're building a nation of independent rebels. And the duopoly is a bad acid trip. Anyway, let's dive in. The story, the first I want to talk about is, of course, the shutdown saga has built tensions with the personal and professional personalities of the Democratic and Republican parties. They're starting to come together for good things instead of war, Wall Street, and the military-industrial complex. And domestic policy, that's not such a, positive thing. As the Democrats and Republicans start to come together, we start to see scraping by on SNAP benefits for a mom and two kids, lights flickering, fridges going empty. Because Congress, Capitol Hill, those suits in the Capitol, the clown show, not the People's House, but the clown show. They've decided to play chicken, of course, with your survival, as they have throughout their entire neoliberal, laissez-faire economic history. And y'all, after the longest shutdown ever, $92 billion have been flushed down the toilet of your taxpayer dollars. $92 billion. Did y'all know that? GDP choked, 1.5% air travel, a nightmare with 4% flight cuts at 40 airports. Federal workers, 800,000 strong. Fired. Yep, not a joke. And they're broke. Partial checks for 5 million households. 3.8 million still waiting for benefits that the federal government let go default. Kids going hungry while Trump tweets about winning. I hope he's tired of winning, because in the House of Representatives, 427-1, he was defeated. So that's refreshing, isn't it, Mr. President? But as far as the Truth Social tweets and truths and the tired of winning propaganda that manufactures consent for Wall Street, the banks, and the military-industrial complex, I think that the talking points are old, stale, almost as stale as the Zionist talking points. They're trying to convince us that giving money and giving blood and treasure to Israel is worth some kind of sacrifice of American lives and American treasure. I don't think it's really hitting the convincing tone that these two parties hoped it would hit, that would herald in the midterms excitement and engagement. It's a two-party trap, and the GOP hardliners versus Dem fence setters and cavers. They're in full effect, and they're fully exposed. Key fact: the 42 million on SNAP are 39% children. Did you know that? An average $190 a month. That's it. That's your neighbor. That's your cousin. That's the soul next door, getting crushed. Your neighbor. Who cares if he's a Democrat or Republican voter? He's your neighbor. Do you love him? And do you love what's best for him? Do you want to promote the general welfare? Or do you want to vote Democrat or Republican? It's really a clear choice. Your neighbor or your leader, your leaders. That's the choice of the midterms in 2028 to me. It's not whether or not a Democrat or Republican ascends to the halls of power. It's whether or not you have made a conscious choice to keep accountable the leaders that you have entrusted our life, liberty, and happiness. And our life, our quality of life anyway, has been low wage, has been cost of living high, has been inflated by a Fed and a government that works for not all of us, but the few. So what if we flipped it, though? What if we flipped it, guys? Instead of voting for Democrats or Republicans, what if we took on a page of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie's courage, and we actually voted and did things according to our principles and take action according to our convictions? What if we did that instead of voting for two parties that will never, ever, ever serve you? What if we did something different? Would that implement a change? I think so.
Without tariffs, this country would be in such trouble, as they were for many years. That's why we owe $38 trillion. And one of the things we're going to do, we're going to issue a dividend to our middle income people and lower income people of about $2,000. And we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. We're going to be lowering our debt, which is a national security thing. So we're doing a lot of good work. And the numbers were reported so incorrectly. The real numbers are trillions of dollars have been taken in or gotten in terms of investment from the tariffs. And so if that were ever reversed, it would be a disaster. Frankly, it would be a national security problem for our country. And nobody thinks it's going to be reversed. I think we had a very good court case. As you know, it's before the Supreme Court right now.
President Donald Trump has pardoned his former personal lawyer Rudy Giuliani, his one-time chief of staff Mark Meadows, and others accused of backing the president's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The full, complete, and unconditional pardon applies only to federal crimes. None of the dozens of Trump allies named in the proclamation were ever charged federally over efforts to overturn the election won by Democrat Joe Biden. It does not impact state charges, though many state prosecutions stemming from the 2020 election have hit a dead end or are struggling to move forward. The pardons underscore Trump's continued efforts to promote the idea that the 2020 election was stolen from him, even though courts around the country and U.S. officials have found no evidence of fraud that could have affected the outcome. It also follows the sweeping pardons of the hundreds of Trump supporters charged in the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol, including those convicted of attacking law enforcement. Among those also pardoned was Sidney Powell, an attorney who promoted baseless conspiracy theories about a stolen election. Giuliani and others have denied any wrongdoing, arguing they were simply challenging an election they believe was tainted by fraud.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? So guys, it's all on the table. What if we flipped it? What if we broke down the duopoly two-party system and the distraction, the disruption, the strategic disruption of puppets of the rich? Let me know in the chat, guys. What do you think? And who's with me? Text Rebel to the hotline also, and let's crowdsource the fix. No justice, no peace, no duopoly. How about lease? How about the immigration inferno, guys? I want to talk about. It's kind of ramping up, shifting to the border, or as the duopoly calls it, their favorite fear factor. Picture Rosa, a dreamer in North Carolina, born here but illegal on paper. It's almost like it's a heart-pounding, kid-screaming nightmare. Do you remember, guys, in the first Thanksgiving when the settlers of Jamestown and the Native Americans, the born here Native Americans, they had their first fellowship? You know, the Native Americans could have chosen to incarcerate the settlers of Jamestown. They were by all ways and means invaders. Did they have permission? Did they have documentation? But what did Squanto and the Wampanoaganians do that Thanksgiving? They chose to educate them. They chose to give warmth, give Xenia hospitality, and to give what they had to eat, to share it. It's just a very interesting, stark difference than something that we're giving the federal government, which is our life, liberty, and happiness. The federal government producing a big, beautiful bill that is taking away health care, that is taking away SNAP benefits, that is taking away safety nets for American people, and giving it to a prison industrial complex, a military industrial complex, Wall Street and the banks. And the ice storms have come. The winter has come, as the Starks say in Game of Thrones. You know, illegal on paper, but can due process be upheld? Can humanity be shown? Can our values and principles as Americans be displayed? Or are we expanding the federal government to a horrific dystopian future? Border Patrol arrests more than 250 people in the Charlotte immigration operation. And I want you guys to take a look at this militant force, this untrained militant force that is wreaking havoc upon the citizens of our dear country. And ask yourselves whether or not it should be allowed in a land of the free and a home of the brave.
Tonight, chaotic scenes like this playing out across Charlotte. This surveillance video capturing people fleeing a laundromat as federal agents arrive. A man texted his family this video shot inside a Border Patrol van to let them know he'd been detained. Another man wrestled to the ground inside a fast food restaurant under construction. Border Patrol says it has arrested more than 250 people 5 days into its immigration crackdown here.
He's breaking the window. He's got an assault rifle pointed at her.
It's unclear how many of those people have criminal records. This woman, a legal permanent resident, said she was questioned by Border Patrol and asked for her papers at the bank. The target was to go after criminals, and they are not doing that. They are after good people. My legs were shaking, and I had documents, she tells us. Many in Charlotte's Hispanic community say they're scared to leave their homes.
People are just staying home, even to do groceries. They're locked in for their own safety.
Erica tells us one man at her church is afraid to leave home for life-saving kidney dialysis. Some North Carolinians welcoming the enforcement. Renee White drove more than 2 hours to show her support for immigration agents.
I was able to pick up a couple of dozen of donuts and some coffee and to let them know that I supported them. And I totally support what they're doing in Charlotte.
Is this what you voted for?
Yes, it is. Yep. I voted for it in 2016. I voted for it in 2020, and I voted for it in 2024.
More than 1,000 people have signed up to come to this church tonight to learn how they can help immigrants spot Border Patrol in their communities. Tom?
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
Guys, don't watch the fucking and don't watch the NBC News. I'm getting clips from them because, like, you know, I want, like, you know, illustrations, but I don't advocate. I have to do this disclaimer. I don't advocate. I don't defend. I don't endorse mainstream media news. It's lies, trash, and even worse than dirty magazines. It's not even productive. At least with dirty magazines, you can, like, you know, produce something. with the mainstream media news, it's only good for A, illustrations, and B, finding out how they fucking lied to you or wrote down, from the powerful what the fucking talking points are and agenda is, and distributing that massively, and manufacturing consent for war. Also, they do that too. But not to go off on a tangent, guys. But I want to bring this up here. Where is it? From truthout.org. It's a real story. Share some of these stories with you guys. If you're conservative, I know that anecdotal stories like this is going to be some of the only things that really catch your attention and make you seriously question your support for a fascist system, a fascist militant system that is not part of a constitutional democracy, not part of a representative democracy, but part of your own suffering, your own sadness, because you can only be happy by other people suffering more than you. That's what that says to me. When you say you support this, by the way, guys, what that says to me as a person is that you need people to suffer more than you for you to be happy. So when she said yes, that's what I voted for. That's what I got out of that was she wants, the only way she can be happy is if she gets other people to suffer more than she is. She's probably doesn't have health care. She probably doesn't have she lives paycheck to paycheck. She's waiting on the $2,000 checks that Trump is now talking about because he's so unpopular and so defeated. And that he's got to promise something. Because if he doesn't, he'll be going to jail soon. But from truthout.org, guys, support justice-driven, accurate, transparent news like truth.org. By the way, I do endorse them. And they're at truthout.org/articles/ICE is functioning like an occupying army. Immigration and Customs Enforcement helicopters will undoubtedly be circling my neighborhood, looking for roofers and landscapers this Veterans Day, just as they have been for weeks. In the United States, you're an easy mark when you have brown skin, and your job demands that you be out in the open, of course. So the writer talks about how she's from Chicago, and ICE has been crawling with Chicago since the federal government has been wanting to expand their power and authority into localized and state territories. Without the authorization of governors, the federal government wishes to expand under Trump's executive powers into a full military, full dystopian, full hands-on militant force. And with the big, beautiful bill funding that they've gotten, the $85 billion they've gotten from your taxpayer dollars, from your pockets, the crew, the ICE crew, led by Kristi Noem, Nazi Barbie, has been wearing ski masks to hide their identity. Isn't that very police-y? Isn't that very when you're law enforcement, you're supposed to enforce the laws to protect the people of our country and of our land, right? But these guys are hiding in ski masks. Isn't that so responsible? Isn't that such what a leader does? Someone in authority who's enforcing the law, the light of the land. It seems very, contrapunctual. It seems very hypocritical. But needless as they say, they're worried about being doxxed. Whereas regular police officers have badges. They've got cameras. They've got car license plates. When you're at law enforcement, you're supposed to be identified very easily. And nobody is supposed to at all, try to be an imposter of law enforcement, because they have the authority and badge with a gun to impose the will and enforce the will upon the people for the safety of the collective. So I don't see a single instance in the ICE, the Customs and Border agents. I don't see a single instance in their work performance, in their law enforcement performance, or in their actual behavior that they wish to convey any kind of legitimate law enforcing or patrolling kind of vibe. They're more hiding their identity, like Antifa, right? Like activist militant terrorists, right? They're patrolling in unmarked trucks. They don't want to be identified. They don't want to be sued. They don't want repercussions. They don't want consequences. That's something that law enforcement really takes when you're a leader, when you enforce the law, when you have authority, you're supposed to take on consequences. You're supposed to challenge, evil and protect and serve the will of the American people. But $85 billion, and I don't see a single soldier in this militant Afghanistan-like terrorist Taliban army. I don't see them showing a remote possibility, a light, a potential of some kind of a good, positive impact on our community. Just put it that way. These people, they remind me of soldiers that some of my friends, they talk about who they patrolled with in Afghanistan. Only the average ICE agent has less training, of course, than the average soldier, less training than the police, less training than even a well-regulated militia in the 18th century. And the U.S. occupation of Iraq and Afghanistan has come full circle, I feel that, similar to the way the Afghan villages were terrorized, the napalm was put down in Vietnam, the bombs were struck in Hiroshima. Now it's coming home. It's coming to our shores. And it's not any kind of foreign invasion. No. After a while, the Afghans would alert their neighbors anytime caravans or trucks entered a town. Sometimes they would use whistles. Villagers would quickly disappear, and it would be like a ghost town in some Vietnamese areas when we were fighting the Viet Cong. But now, with life under occupation of our federal government and the Trump regime, skyrocketing domestic occupying forces, ICE has been training for a good, solid 2 to 4 weeks. And they surge then. They surge to troops in an 8-week-long boot camp. 8 weeks and 2 to 4 weeks. I mean, that's the training that we need to enforce the laws and to make sure that we uphold the standards of the country and our constitutional values and order, right? I mean, all we need is 2 to 4 weeks and then maybe a 8-week-long boot camp. Then we're ready for occupying the U.S. neighborhoods with some deadliest weapons in the world, like AK-47s, assault rifles. And according to former Department of Homeland Security official herself, Kristi Noem, she told NBC News that she's trying to push everyone through the vetting process. Isn't that interesting? She wants to push everyone through the vetting process. Yet even if the vetting were more rigorous, more thorough, no amount of training could justify armed soldiers terrorizing the citizens of our country. And if Trump's mass deportation plan can happen here, it can happen anywhere. This is just the beginning. You thought that Joe Biden's crime bill in 1994 would have made a school-to-prison pipeline that expanded the federal government's power and drew upon it penalties and consequences that would enrich the elites and build a class system that would bring us to a income inequality not since the Gilded Age. You thought that. But guys, this is the continuation of it. This is the Republican President Donald Trump taking what the Democrats have handed them, the federal government expansions, the warrantless wiretapping of the Obama administration, the FISA court warrants that were signed not legitimately during the Obama administration. And then we're upping the ante and we're handing these gifts off to a tyrant who's plain and simple nothing but a third grader with a toy. And he thinks of this federal government as a toy. You can definitely tell. I mean, can't you? Can't you definitely tell that this president only thinks of this federal government as an instrument to appease himself and his administration and his cronies who give him campaign finance contributions? I think at this point, we can safely discern Donald Trump's mindset. And it seems to be very clear to me.
We are like bears in this country.
Republican Congressman Clay Higgins of Louisiana was the only no vote. Now, ahead of the House vote, several survivors appeared on Capitol Hill to encourage lawmakers to support releasing the files.
Learning in just the last few minutes here that the president has approved a 28-point plan for peace between Russia and Ukraine, according to a senior administration official. This is just into us here at NBC News. This official says this has been getting worked out over the last several weeks. And it comes as sources are telling us army leaders are making a surprise trip to Ukraine to try to revive the peace process. All of it coming at the end of a day where the Saudi crown prince was making the rounds here in D.C., doing some politics and some business with the president and on Capitol Hill. You can see Mohammed bin Salman, MBS as he's known, there at the White House. This was yesterday. He was also walking through the Hill with the House Speaker. The president touting billions of dollars in deals with the Saudis, investments on things like nuclear energy, minerals, tech, etc. Let me bring in Garrett Haake at the White House. And Garrett, I have to start with your new reporting that's just into us here on the war in Ukraine. The president, I think people remember, had promised back during his campaign he would bring peace to that region day one. Obviously, that hasn't been the case. Where do things stand now, and what are you hearing from these officials?
Yeah, that context is so important, Hallie, because this was a longtime campaign promise of the president to end this war on day one. He's been repeatedly frustrated by the lack of progress that he's been able to create. There was that summit in Alaska over the summer that basically went nowhere. There was about a day of discussion about another summit in Budapest that then was called off. What I've learned today from a official is that really since that summit fell apart, there's been a very quiet behind-the-scenes effort here led by Steve Witkoff, the president's special envoy for basically conflicts all around the world, along with the vice president, Secretary Rubio, and also the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, to craft this new 28-point plan, kind of the sim framework idea that was developed around the war in Gaza, working with, the White House official says, Ukrainian officials and Russian officials to try to find some way to break the impasse here, some way to end this war. Well, the White House isn't talking about the specifics of this plan. They are optimistic that perhaps this new way of thinking may at least break the logjam here, suggesting that this plan has security guarantees both for Ukraine, whose needs are obvious. They were the country that was invaded, and also for Russia, who has, in public comments always said that they are kind of the aggrieved party here, concerned about the expansion of NATO and the possibility of Ukraine being a member, that this plan would have potentially something for everyone. Now, the fact that these military leaders, these army leaders were in Ukraine today appears to be largely coincidental. This plan had been in the works for some time, but was only approved by the president this week, either yesterday or the day before. I'm not quite certain when. But now it is the operative plan here, and the White House is hoping they can get buy-in from the Kremlin and the Ukrainians on it, perhaps sooner rather than later.
Is there going to be some big rollout, announcement-y type thing, Garrett? Do you have any sense of that?
I think that's going to depend on the buy-in. The Russian side of this has been worked by a man named Kirill Dmitriev. He's President Putin's envoy here. We've heard no comment, at least no substantive hugging, wrapping around the arms, if you will, of this plan by any Russian official since then. So we still are kind of where we have always been here, which is trying to get both parties to the table here. The early indication from the Ukrainians is this was not something that they were particularly thrilled about, but the White House says they were consulted. So where this all lands, I think it's too early to say, but it is, I think, a rethinking of the strategy here, which had largely depended upon getting Trump and Putin and Zelensky into a room together. That seems to have gone out the window.
Garrett, before I let you go, and we talk about sort of things related to international intrigue, there's also obviously this visit by MBS. White House yesterday, Big Hill Energy today, and a lot of sort of questions and spotlight on this visit, too.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Bin Salman is such a controversial figure all around the world for various reasons. Here in Washington, he's been welcomed as a deal maker and as someone who the president and his allies can do business with, both politically and literally. We had the announcement from Elon Musk that his AI company is going to be doing, I think, a $500 million data center deal with Saudi Arabia. And we have the diplomatic back and forth between the president, who very much wants to see the Saudis become part of his Abraham Accords. He talked about that yesterday. Well, today he also talked about what Bin Salman wants from him, and that's the president to get involved in the civil war in the Sudan, which has been raging since 2023, basically asking the president to put his peacemaker reputation on the line, if you will, bill to try to settle what's been an intractable conflict, killed more than 100,000 people between Sudan's government and a paramilitary group there. The president said on Truth Social he'll try, but that's a very complex conflict, and we'll see what leverage, if any, the president has on this internal war there.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app.
Again, guys, I just want to reiterate, don't stay breaking. Don't stay informed on the MSNBC News app. That would be a bad mistake, and I do not endorse that. I don't advocate for it. In fact, that would be like similarly to injecting yourself with disinfectant, staying informed with the MSNBC News app, or it would be similar to drinking gasoline. That would probably be similar to that as well. Or taking the COVID vaccine. Either one. This is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics, guys, and we're talking about, the things that really matter. Talking about Rocky. I'm talking about stuff that dissects power, guys, and policy, and the pulse of the global affairs. Today we are diving into a seismic shift in the Middle Eastern diplomacy, and the President Donald Trump's 20-point peace plan for Gaza, and now backed by the UN Security Council resolution. But beneath the headlines of CNN, MSNBC, all of that, we've got the BBC doing a little bit of a deep dive. I want to bring that up here. Let's see what we got here. See what we got going on here, guys. Things happen. Shit happens, guys. Shit happens. Trump defends Saudi crown prince. Yeah. Well, you can tell when you fucking listen to Trump. He's such a statesman, isn't he? I mean, you look at the National Archives of like Harry Truman and Abraham Lincoln and FDR, like all of their speeches, 7 years ago. Well, and then we know these things to be self-evident. All men are created equal, endowed by their creator with life, liberty, and happiness, right? And then we got Trump over here. This shit happens. Don't be rude. Fake news. National Archives, guys. Future National Archives for your children. This is historic. Even more historic, though, guys, we've got Mohammed bin Salman. Historic and renowned. The Crown Prince, who has been, labeled by our intelligence community to be the killer of Jamal Khashoggi. Now, I take that with a grain of salt, I want to say personally, because everything our intelligence communities have ever said to us have been lies or manipulated us into a war for oil, resources, or land, or Israel. So, now our intelligence community says that the Crown Prince was involved with the killing of Jamal Khashoggi, who was a journalist of the Washington Post. But I find that Israel has more of a fingerprint or footprint on his killing than the Saudi prince. Evident on the evidence. If anybody disagrees with me, hit me up on the chat. Why? And link me the evidence of how you've come to that conclusion. Okay? And I'll consider it. But as of this moment, guys, I don't see any kind of really, any kind of malevolent or any kind of, I know that a lot of Americans do, because the Saudis were very heavily involved in the 9/11 attacks, which Osama bin Laden supposedly attacked our country in order to enrich his own pockets, because he was paid to do so, and then to destabilize the Israel-America alliance that, let's face it, caused regime change, wars throughout the world, and destabilized the region that he was living in. So he might have had, in his mind that we were a destabilizing great Satan force, and we were ruled by murderous, psychopathic neocon warmongers. So he probably wanted to shoot us first. I don't really ask the why or if he's dead. Obama killed him savagely and burned his body in the ocean, and invaded his sovereign country, Pakistan, to kill him. So I don't really ask too many questions. He was the first black president. But I will ask these questions, guys. I will ask, what has the Saudi crown prince? I know that our intelligence has labeled him as a involvement person, but you did read in the New York Times, in the Washington Post, in the Wall Street Journal that he was found. The phone of Jamal Khashoggi was found with spyware on it from Israel. It was the Pegasus spyware, guys. If you know anything about Pegasus spyware, you know that it infiltrates computers, phones, it hacks them, it releases information, and it makes them the victims of that exposed, and it gives you all of their access to all of their data, in which you can sell to the highest bidder, in which you can use to murder them, in which you can take out the chip in their car and cause the brakes to fail. You can do all kinds of things with Pegasus spyware. And that was from Pegasus spyware was specifically created by a defense contractor that is part of has a government contract with not only our country, but the IDF, and more specifically, the entire government of Israel. Yes, they have contracts with Israel and us and the IDF and other corporations around the globe, more notably international corporations like Vanguard, BlackRock, and Blackstone. But to the funding of this, and of course Peter Thiel and Palantir was also very heavily involved with the creation and the patent distribution of the spyware Pegasus as well. You can read about Pegasus at the Gray Zone. Aaron Mate, award-winning journalist, does an amazing deep dive into Palantir, into Pegasus, and into the death economy, the surveillance economy that has been, really enhancing the flavor of our dystopian future as I see it coming. Back to the BBC, though. I didn't want to use CNN or MSNBC. We all know they're trash, and sometimes, because they're foreigners and they're looking, through the window, they can see things that our dumbass lapdogs of the powerful mainstream media miss, or miss on purpose, or don't want to report. Foreigners don't know what we're not supposed to know, right? They're not in the meetings where the oligarchs give the media or the politicians the talking points, and then they give the media the talking points, and then hand in hand. So the BBC sometimes has good things. Anyway, that's my point. U.S. President Donald Trump said Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman knew nothing. Now, of course, Donald Trump knows nothing, so I can understand how he would feel that way about the 2018 killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. As he welcomed the kingdom's de facto ruler to the White House, Trump's comments appeared to contradict a U.S. intelligence assessment in 2021, which, by the way, like I said, his comments appear to contradict a U.S. intelligence assessment in 2021. I don't give a shit. Our U.S. intelligence is corrupted. They're murderers. They're torturers. And they've done war crimes. Anybody involved in the war crimes and torture and displacement of innocent people that were tortured at Guantanamo Bay, anybody involved in the operation of torture during our war on terror should literally be hanged and hung. So I don't really care about the U.S. intelligence assessment. I don't care at all. But I do care about the Crown Prince denying any wrongdoing. He sounded sincere, and he said that Khashoggi's death was very painful for him and his family and the government of the Saudis, because one of the things he brought up was one thing Osama bin Laden might have wanted to do is damage the relationships between Middle Eastern countries and the United States, in which we wouldn't be communicating with each other. So when Trump shot back at a reporter asking about the killing and called it fake news, that was a knee-jerk, immature thing to do, of course, and absolutely not helpful, productive, or by any way informative. But, President Trump, quote, "You're mentioning something extremely controversial." Like you're not allowed to do that? Sometimes I feel like this guy doesn't remember he's the president of the United States of America, where we can positively mention extremely controversial things. We can say whatever we like. We have the freedom of speech here, among other freedoms. But the Crown Prince, his response about, painting him, and he knew nothing, and that he went out of his way to communicate to the media that he tried to do every kind of thing necessary to make sure that such a tragedy would not occur again. It sounded presidential. Well, we had the child in the room and Mohammed bin Salman. While I don't know for a fact any of it to be legitimate or true, because, like I said, our intelligence is lies, and Mohammed bin Salman, although looking sincere, might be a liar too. I'm not sure. But while dozens of Saudi officials faced sanctions in the wake of assassination, none directly targeted the crown prince, and the media hasn't cited any kind of other evidence besides the intelligence assessment of 2021 for Mohammed bin Salman to be responsible for the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. So the crown prince himself in 2019 did a 60 Minutes interview where he didn't take accountability or responsibility for the crime, but he said that he would look into it and he would do everything that he could do to make sure that he would get to the bottom of it. I don't really know of any kind of outcome of that investigation or the investigation of our CIA intelligence assessment officials. But I do know that they're liars. And I'm welcoming all of the information that could lead us to a conclusion for justice to occur. But the meeting on Tuesday between Trump and Mohammed bin Salman it was expected to include deals on civilian nuclear power, artificial intelligence, and Saudi investment in the United States. So that is a little concerning for us, since the artificial intelligence, is going to be the means and ways of which to corral us into our 15-minute cities and our surveilled and absolutely dystopian futures. I mean, we're going to be the Terminator movie talked about the self-aware capabilities of AI, but I knew from the moment that I saw that movie in the 1990s, because I didn't see it when it first came out. I was a little baby. It was rated R. But I knew that somehow, some way, it would not be the machines that would be ruling us. It would be a fascistic government that would be using as a tool the Terminators in which to corral us as cattle, because that's how they think of us. And many of the wonderful companies such as Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Boeing, they believe the same thing, because they expect a deal between the Saudis and the U.S. defense giant Lockheed Martin to take place within a week. And as much as Boeing is suffering when it comes to quality of their aircrafts, there's a potential sale there, as well as for a sale with Israeli officials involved. Again, this is not just a Arab Emirates possible collaboration. This is an Israeli collaboration as well. And the 20-part peace plan is very intricate into the construction of a new and more, I guess, efficient and revenue-driving Gaza peace plan. We all saw the AI video of Trump Gaza. And so that is concerning to me more than Mohammed bin Salman at the Oval Office. Again, sure, why not, bro? Maybe. Y'all, if y'all got chats, if y'all got comments or whatnot, I'll put them on the thing. It made me lose my train of thought for a second. Oh, yeah, shit happens. So, anyway, U.S. citizen jailed in Saudi Arabia for criticizing regime, allowed to return to U.S. is a story as well that's concurrent with that. And so I can't think that Mohammed bin Salman is he's not an angel. He's not a prophet. He's not a religious, righteous man. He's capable of violence. He's capable of horrors, just like our politicians. But I just don't have any hardcore evidence that he was, involved in it. I don't know how he would benefit from it. I don't really know exactly. We don't really know the entire story, because Jamal Khashoggi told his wife, again, some stuff, and then it turned out he wasn't telling her the whole truth. So I have no idea. We have no idea what happened. We never will. And so you're just gonna be a journalist and you're not gonna tell anybody the real truth of what you've gone. You're not gonna have like a backup of like what happens if like they, like Candace Owens, like she has a plan of what will happen if something happens to her. Like everything's gonna go live. She's already given, the skeleton key to some other conservative dude, and he's gonna like upload everything and release everything all at once. Like that's what you do if you're a journalist. I don't know what Jamal Khashoggi was doing. He didn't do that, and he told his wife a lie, and then he ended up disappeared. And they just found his phone with Pegasus spyware. That's all we know for sure. So, what do you guys think? Y'all have any conspiracy theories? Y'all have any theories at all? Let me know. Let me know if you have any facts. That's more important. But conspiracy theories are fun. There's nothing wrong with those. Exercise your mind, guys. Exercise your mind more than fucking. What are you kids playing now? It's not a Fortnite. That's probably like 20 years ago. Can't keep up with you fucking people. You and your Riz. You and your mewing. Anyway, guys. Back to us. Enough of the foreign. Oh, I hope I just communicated that this whole peace plan is a capitalist collaboration of different interests in which they seek to enrich themselves, displace the people upon which they're going to take the resources and land, and then they seek to make a prosperous and a profitable outcome, with construction being built, with restaurants being made, with patents and land titles to be had, and then they're of course going to have resorts, and they're going to have wonderful ways in which entrepreneurs can be involved in the experience of a Gaza. It's a historic place, and with right next to the sea, right next to the rivers, and you could walk to the Holy Land, or you could bike there. I mean, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. Trump Gaza, number one. Trump Gaza, have some fun. Yeah, guys, schmoozing with the Saudis, kicking it with the killers at the IDF, but not amplifying survivor voices on Epstein files, not trying to get social justice for my marginalized groups. Sounds like a president for all of us, huh? Probably not, guys. But that means an opportunity, though. That means that we have an opportunity to not have to rely on them to do our will. We can build the clout. We can make the influence. We can change the minds. We can be the makers of dreams and the dreamers of dreams, makers of music. It's all through truth, loyalty, liberation, legitimacy, courage, rebellion, and peace. We tried to be the Department of War. What if we were the Department of Peace? What if we did different things? Perhaps different outcomes might take place. But the midterms are coming, and we seem to be really geared towards doing the same thing, expecting a different result. And it's extremely, extremely disappointing to me. But what's more, it's probably gonna give Carolyn Levitt a heart attack.
Trump has asked the DOJ to investigate Democrats' ties to Epstein, but is anyone investigating Trump? Look, the only thing these emails prove is that President Trump did nothing wrong. If anything, his crime was loving too much and possibly too young. Now, let's get a relevant question, Fox News.
Unnamed black guy, Fox News. Is President Trump too healthy?
Thank you. And yes, he got his 30th physical last week, and it went great. He took a
Fox News Truth Alert! Fox News Truth Alert! Yeah, guys, so Maga's dead. His bases left him, as they should have long ago. But Fox News is going to be that girl that was smacked, beaten, stabbed, raped. She's going to still be there for you, no matter what. And I think that maybe that's kind of, at least Trump has I want someone to love me like Fox News loves Trump. No matter what, bro. Unconditional love. But it's more of like a puppy dog unconditional love. So I don't know about that. Maybe not. In any case, guys, I've gone way over the hour. So thanks for staying with me. I'm going to cut it now. I'm going to talk about one more thing. I'm going to talk about you. Try to engage with your neighbors, whether they be Democrat, Republican voters. Try to understand their struggles. Try to promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty to yourselves and to your posterity. Try to reclaim the power and purpose of our country and manifest the destiny that you feel is the purpose that you have. If you can't do that, guys, what's life worth living for? Also, you can't live life without being free-thinking, innovative, open-minded, and listening to Tommy Nation Politics podcast, your progressive independent media, www.tommynationpolitics.com. It's a progressive fire voice, guys. I'm really just a hippie. I'm not really fire brand, but I do hate the duopoly, and I love the underdog. And I want to maybe promote the general welfare a little bit and unite the country in a cause that will give us all a fulfillment of the constitutional promise that life, liberty, and happiness shall be manifested to every equal man under this free land. Tommy Nation Politics. Catch me next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll talk about some other things as they transpire. And we're definitely going to revisit many other current predicaments that are middle class, working class, lower class individuals that are struggling to pay bills, living paycheck to paycheck, and living in income inequality. They're going to be experiencing, probably even more so, once the Big Beautiful Bill provisions start to kick in. Stay tuned, guys. Stay free.